Chapter 4. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, all that do wickedly, shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. And ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord of hosts. Remember ye the law of Moses my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to the fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. The end of the prophets. Here we are in the last chapter of the Old Testament. Malachi is summing up those things which he feels are the most important messages of the Savior to us. And he gives us a warning and an opportunity. The warning is that the wicked shall burn as stubble at the last days. And the question really is, everybody wants to know, who are the wicked? Now we ask that as a general question because we don't usually have the courage to ask, am I among the wicked? And I hope by now you've understood that the Lord loves everybody and doesn't wish to do anybody any harm. And the only reason that people suffer on this earth is because they have physical bodies that are subject to the laws of physical bodies, and sometimes rotten things happen to good people. And secondly, sometimes we bring things upon ourselves because we don't follow certain types of laws and we reap certain benefits, blessings or curses. And the things that happen to us in the eternities are determined by what we choose to do here. And so who are the wicked? The wicked fall into one of two categories. They are those people who had the opportunity to choose to follow the example of the Savior, to study it out, to find out what it was, not just this, oh, I believe stuff, and then go ahead and continue with this being liars, cheats, stealers, and whatever else you were, but mouth the words, I believe, and suppose that's going to do something for you any more than offering the blood sacrifices did anything for the Hebrews. It did nothing because it was supposed to be an interchange, and these things were supposed to be outer examples, outer evidences of an interchange. If there's no interchange, there's no benefit. You know, the fasting didn't benefit the Lord. It was no good to the people, except they put food and drink in their face every time they had a feast. But that didn't get them any closer to being more righteous people. So those people who reject doing it for whatever reason, doesn't make a difference what the reason is. If you just don't do it, you just don't do it. You're considered wicked. Secondly, the second category of those who are considered wicked are those people who made the half-hearted decision to follow Christ and then did some of it some of the time, but who didn't make the whole commitment for all of the time, no matter what. In other words, people who were not valiant in living the commandments, who were ashamed, who were embarrassed, who maybe only made a half-hearted effort, who did a little bit, but were decent starters but lousy finishers. Those people are wicked, and they will burn as stubble. And knowing that, that's a choice that you make. Now, last but not least, we deal with the leaving you with neither root nor branch, and that concept. You need to understand that in the Jewish histories and Jewish philosophy, thinking, and life, and as they were instructed by the Lord, one of the most important blessings of the tabernacle and the temple was the sealing of family units together. And that's why you see all these extensive genealogies, as who was the son of who was the son of who was the son of who, back and back and back and back and back and back. Those are important to them for that particular reason, and they had them all memorized. And the temple ordinances include the sealing, assuming that you're righteous, of you to your ancestors in an unbroken chain going back to Adam and Eve and through them to the Lord. And when you worship false idols, when you worship these idols and things, this is one of the things that was so upsetting to the Lord. You were basically taking yourself out of his family and saying, you don't count, Lord. It's no point serving you because you're no good to us. And you're taking yourself out of his family. It's like one of your children deciding that they don't want to be part of the family anymore, don't want to be known by the family name, and just are going to forget it. And you know, you can see what's going to happen to them, but they're bound and determined to do it anyway. And so this authority that Elijah had to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and turn the hearts of the children to the fathers was part of the temple ordinances that are so sacred they were not talked about, but that everybody knew and understood because everybody participated in them. That's one of the reasons for building a temple. That's why they tried so hard to have a temple, and why it was such a desecration when they took those idols and things in there. Now there's a story I'm going to share with you that I hope happens in your life, sort of. There's a story about at the crossing of the Missouri River, there was an old gentleman who had a worn out, beat up type of boat where he would take you across. A little ferry, he would take you across, he'd row you across for 10 cents. And this boat was filthy, dirty. You couldn't tell it was brass fittings or anything on it because everything was just covered with muck and grime and mire and rust and all kinds of stuff. And so was the old man. And this went on for years and years and years and years. And one day, people came down to the ferry to go across. And the boat was polished. The brass was polished. The boat had been sanded from one end to the other. It was clean. It had been painted. The old man had on old clothes still the holes on them, but everything had been washed and was as clean as it could possibly be. And the old man sitting in the boat reading scriptures. And somebody asked him what had happened. I mean, this change was so profound and dramatic. And he looked up, he looked at the scriptures, and he said, I got a glory. In other words, he had caught the vision of who he was and why he was here and how he should live and how he should share his life and how he should give and how much the Lord loved him. And he'd gotten that from the scriptures. And I hope that you have read through the Old Testament, that you have gotten that testimony of how much the Lord loves you. And that as we look in the New Testament, you will see how the Lord's life shows how much he loves you.